Right now on Upfront.
Undecided.
The lesser of two evils.
Less than 6 months out, Wisconsin's black voters, the potential key to the presidency.
Is Joe Biden a good president? Is he not a good president?
I think a lot of the people on the block like Trump.
The campaigning intensifying, enthusiasm dwindling.
Is that one of your biggest challenges when you're out here?
Now, up front on the campaign trail, the consequential vote, the alarm bells, and the voters.
Microsoft's big pitch.
This is literally creating jobs across the state of Wisconsin.
The $3 billion investment in Racine County, the politics of Foxconn in the future. We're one-on-one with Microsoft President Brad Smith.
In the running.
This picks up and there's a bigger glass that you can see it.
Milwaukee's 128th Air Refueling Wing, one of a handful nationwide, now under consideration to house a new, more powerful aircraft for the Air Force. The 128th's new commander, Colonel Charles Merkel, is one-on-one moments away.
This is Upfront with Jaron Jordan and political director Matt Smith.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Happy Mother's Day. Another week, another campaign stop in battleground Wisconsin.
Vice President Kamala Harris will be in Milwaukee Thursday. She's expected to, in part, meet with black voters, a critical and consequential group that will help determine who wins the White House.
But here in Wisconsin, enthusiasm is low, and now the urgency to reach black voters in Wisconsin dramatically intensifying for both campaigns, and the stakes couldn't be higher. You could find the latest poll.
I'm steady because I try to book.
6 months from Election Day.
You know, politics, Joe Biden.
Or try to book a chair with Richard Armstead.
You know, what is Donald Trump offering?
And just listen to Milwaukee voters.
I'm decided right now. I'm not sure actually if I'm gonna actually vote or not.
Like Naomi Giles, who hasn't voted since 2012, when she cast her ballot for Barack Obama. Or Clee Crapes, who's wholeheartedly undecided. Both part of the powerful and coveted black vote in Milwaukee. Do you know who your pick is at this point?
I honestly don't know. I didn't like hearing the current president now say that, you know, if you're not black if you don't vote Democrat. You know, I thought that was a load of BS. I thought that was an insult. You know, but I also don't like, you know, all of the, you know, drama surrounding, you know, Donald Trump. You know, I don't believe that he has our best interest, you know, in mind, but I'm a big Second Amendment guy, so typically Democrats, you know, lean the other way. So is vote against your best interest or vote against your conscience? You know, you damned if you do, damned if you don't.
We probably all in this room receive a lot of phone calls, texts, emails.
In Racine Wednesday, President Biden meeting specifically with black voters.
You know that guy? Yeah. Is he okay? What's your name?
Jakari Oliver.
Jakari. Well, good to see you, man.
Former President Donald Trump in Waukesha this month.
When we come here in a short period of time into Milwaukee, we're going to come and try that vegan food. I don't know if I'm going to like it.
Introducing a black small business owner in Milwaukee.
It is very important that we change what is going on now.
The campaign's well aware of the urgency and hesitation.
We can do a lot because I think the public is really ready to see some change.
Do you see part of your job between now and November is convincing people to vote?
Yes. It's really demanding out there. It's got our work cut out because, like we said, a lot of people is not seeing the effort, and it feel like it's a joke now. They feel like it's not being taken serious. Here you got one going through court system, but running for president. Come on now, this is ridiculous.
And then the other one getting old, and he's not doing what he's supposed to do, and you don't know what side he's really gonna be on. You know, so. You know,
but then
so
you do get some who do kind of say, they will say like, well, if it did come down to it, they would vote for Joe because he gonna be gone up out of there soon, and then there go Pamela. So then they want that woman in office. Now she got a lot of support out there, but those two guys,
Multiple times a week,
he would always say, Angela, I know who got me elected. And I would say, and don't you forget it.
Organizers with black leaders organizing for communities known as Block mobilize into Milwaukee's North Side neighborhoods.
keep them informed about anything, local elections, any event that's going on, or any community meeting we're trying to have.
Well aware of the latest polling showing just 37% of black voters in Wisconsin say they're very enthusiastic about November's presidential election.
So you think that's probably someone who may not vote?
And no matter how much I tried to talk to her, because I didn't talk to her before, that's why she said, I know you. And I'm like, yeah. So it's like, I keep coming, but you keep telling me the same thing, so I'm not gonna force you.
Is that one of your biggest challenges when you're out here?
Yes, because it's like, you tell me your issues and you talk about your issues, but you can't do nothing if you don't want to take action and like how you think it's gonna change. Like your one vote might be the reason why nothing is changing.
The strategy this day near 40th and Capitol.
What are some issues in your community that you would like to see a change in?
Is part of a year-round effort, first targeting the most basic needs.
Better policing, investment in security in the neighborhoods.
Part community change, part community organizing, where just 14% of Wisconsin's black voters say the economy is excellent or good.
I mean, look, whoever wins Wisconsin will become president of the United States. You win Wisconsin, you become president. And winning Wisconsin means the turnout in Milwaukee.
Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson, County Executive David Crowley.
Why isn't this resonating now? Why do you have more work to do?
People are still struggling. People are still looking to get the things that they need. And we know that we have a president that's looking to invest in them. But I think that as we continue to move forward, you know, people are going to understand that this presidential election is going to be extremely important.
And black folks, I think, will also remember come 6 months from now that Donald Trump, you know, when he was a private citizen years ago, that he called for the Central Park Five to be executed. They're not going to forget that. They're not going to forget that Donald Trump said that, you know, the countries where African Americans ancestrally come from, that they're whole countries. Folks are not going to forget that stuff.
You're not going to let them forget that.
I'm not going to let him forget that. The county executive will not let him forget that. And African Americans in Milwaukee will not let him forget that.
In terms of voter turnout and whatever that turnout will be in November, how much of that falls on you two?
Look, we're going to do all that we can. I said in my victory speech when I was reelected mayor that I'm challenging people in this community, because it's not just on us. It is not just on us. But I'm challenging people in our community to work to make sure that you tap into the people that are in your family, in your network, that you know can vote, should vote, but don't vote.
We have to continue to tell that story. And so it's not just on political leadership, it's on community leadership, business leaders, our mothers, our fathers who are in this community to tell the story and really to continue to talk about the importance of letting your voice be heard.
Turnout in Milwaukee's majority black wards surged in 2012 to an unprecedented 77%, according to a Marquette Law School analysis, when former President Obama was seeking re-election. But then it dramatically dropped. Milwaukee's black voter turnout falling 3 times faster than white voters in 2016 to 61% when Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were on the ballot, and dropping even more to 58% in 2020.
Do you see it as a big threat that people will just stay home in November?
I think what I think about is that if we're still having the same type of conversation around Labor Day, then I think that is a problem. But if that switch doesn't happen and that enthusiasm gap isn't kind of made up probably around like Labor Day or so, then I think folks are in trouble.
Democrats?
Yeah, Democrats. I think Democrats would be in trouble.
Who's responsible for that switch? Is it the Biden campaign solely?
I think part of it does fall on the Biden campaign. You know, we see him campaigning, he's doing all these events, you know, him and the vice president and their surrogate administration cabinet members have been to Wisconsin numerous times. But I think, you know, these are rallies that are, you know, not necessarily open to the public. You got to be like invited. So I think people are looking for kind of those smaller roundtable discussions with your average voter and maybe not necessarily a political person that's already working in politics. Those kind of barbershop conversations, those churches, those smaller conversations. I think that's what folks are looking for instead of kind of talking to and preaching to the choir and folks that are already your supporters. How is he actually connecting and making his case to folks that may be on the fence?
And Republicans are looking to capitalize.
We want to target our areas. We're going to see what we can get out of it.
Preparing to mobilize their own field group out of the GOP field office at MLK and North.
How polarizing is Trump with this segment of voters, do you think?
I don't know. I think a lot of the people on the block like Trump. They like him a lot. A lot of men like Trump. They can understand that when you're back against the wall attitude. They like someone who's a straight shooter.
Despite President Biden winning Milwaukee's black vote by some 81% in 2020, the margins for Democrats have seen a slight decline over the past decade.
You think there's a segment of black voters here in Milwaukee who are more open to hearing the Republican message?
I do. I think like no time ever before. When I engage people on the door, we list issues, right?
Yeah.
I say, are you fed up with schools? Are you fed up with your, rent going up? People say, yeah. I said, well, go ahead and sign this, let's say this nomination paper. But as you sign this nomination paper, I'm gonna let you know I'm a Republican. And people will stop. I said, wait a minute. I said, wait a minute. Now you agree with everything I said up until the point I said I was a Republican. The question is not that I'm a Republican. The question is, are you really a Democrat?
There are some black Democratic voters who are highly skeptical of Republicans, that you're just coming into the city to disenfranchise their vote. Are those concerns legitimate from them?
I think it's another play to control people. They want to control the black vote as if it's theirs and no one else's, instead of letting black people arrive at their own conclusion.
All right, fascinating to see what happens over the next couple months.
Yeah, absolutely. Up next, Microsoft's big move, the multi-billion-dollar investment in Southeast Wisconsin, construction already underway. Now, Microsoft's president, a Wisconsin native, is one-on-one with us next.